Acosta.
Here.
Councilmember Silva.
Okay, we do have a quorum. Stand for the pledge. Here. Councilmember Felda.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We can go to item number 4, approval of the agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda as presented?
I have none, Mr. Mayor.
None, Mr. Mayor. None, Mr. Mayor.
None, Mr. Mayor. Move to approve. Second.
Motion to approve and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next, we will go to Citizens Forum. We do have a meeting afterwards, the kickoff to the Municipal League. We're meeting with some individuals after this, so we would ask that you keep your comments to a minimum, and we'll put a limitation of 2 minutes. Is there anyone that would like to speak under the Citizens Forum at this time? Sir? Welcome to our meeting.
The town will consider a panhandling ordinance tonight, giving little consideration to the rights of free speech, which all in our community are entitled to, including political protesters and panhandlers. Of course, the most prominent and successful panhandler in our community is Luis Reyes, who has managed to mooch at least $80,000 to $100,000 a year from the town by way of rent and other costs at the Needless and Useless Command Center. But following closely behind Luis are the sponsors of the Taos Fiesta.
Mr. Northrop, this is not the forum. Kit Carson Electric has monthly meetings, and you're welcome to attend those. Please go on to the next.
I have various issues. I'm
Okay.
done with Luis. Thank you.
Okay.
But following closely behind Luis are the sponsors of the Taos Fiesta, Mother's Day concert, town leaders seeking jobs for family members, and councilors voting for construction projects that benefit themselves. Town councilors mooch $20,000 a year, plus health insurance and many other perks, and do practically nothing. Their counterpart bums on the street can at best have a few bucks, can at best come up with a few dollars at a time. My sympathies, loyalties, and respect go to the street bums, victims of society and government hostility and indifference. For many years, I've asked this body to establish a citizens-controlled, totally independent police oversight committee. In the not-too-distant past, we've had issues of inappropriate and unlawful police violence. More recently, we have a department that operates under the thumb of politicians, allowing vigilantes to roam our streets, committing crimes at will. A strong citizens review board could and would bring a quick end to our police force allowing these vigilantes to roam our streets. While it is understood that police chiefs always work under the mayoral direction, there must be checks and balances if the police department is allowed to support criminal activity. Any questions?
Okay. Next, we will. Mr. Northrop, can you tell me what those badges are for that you're wearing?
Yes, I'm impersonating a police officer, just like our town policemen do.
Okay. Okay. Anyone next like to speak under Citizens Forum? I see some names, but I'm just going to go by the audience because I don't know if everyone's going to speak. Sir, welcome to our meeting.
Thank you, Mayor.
State your name for the record.
My name is Paul Figueroa. I'm the counterbalance to the previous speaker.
Thank you.
I am here to voice support for the renewal of the marketing contract with Griffin and Associates that's before the town this evening. As the Vice President of the Taos Arts Council and as the person who installs the art shows in Town Hall, I have found Griffin and Associates to be a valuable ally in promoting those undertakings to publicize art in public spaces. They have helped draft news releases and disseminate it to their media listings. And with the current show that's on view in Town Hall until October the 4th, Adventures de Taos Photography, they've been an excellent resource in generating publicity and attendance for that show. So I'm here tonight to say that they are indeed putting heads in beds, and they have done successfully over the last couple of years, and I urge the renewal of their contract. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Speaking of heads and beds, well, we'll talk about that under the marketing contract, because I just saw the GRT reports. So, anyone else like to speak under the Citizens Forum at this time? Sir, welcome to our meeting. Please state your name for the record.
Darian Fernandez, and I would like to voice my support for the continuation of the marketing agreement with Griffin & Associates. However, as a marketing professional myself, I do have some concerns specifically with the Facebook marketing efforts that currently are undertaken. From what I have observed through the Taos Tourism website and Facebook account, which I'm, which I've looked at a lot, there isn't much of an emphasis on actual engagement. And from what I've read in the paper and from what I understand on this issue, and I could be wrong, and frequently am, ask all my ex-girlfriends, but, to just measure the impact on Facebook on the amount of likes that we have on a Facebook page is ineffectual. It doesn't say anything about how much content is actually being engaged upon by the followers of the page. So I would ask that as council members and mayor, if this contract is extended, please ensure due diligence in looking at not just the amount of likes on the page, but also how many people are commenting on posts, how many people are liking individual posts, and consider using techniques such as promoted posts on Facebook, to which essentially is a payment for a specific post in which like for an upcoming event could really boost the visibility on Facebook, and also use more what we say in social media hashtags, which is essentially a filing system for a particular type of content, and link that in with your Twitter account. So, even though your Facebook account may only have 7,999 visitors, as of my last time checking it about 5 minutes ago, you can potentially get more of a reach than just the 30 or 40 people that are liking each particular post that is put on. To me, that raises red flags, because it says that the Facebook efforts at this point are underwhelming, and the technologies and tools that are available are underutilized. I would also recommend that, where are my notes?
If you can wind down your comments, please.
Okay. So, consider, proper hashtags, more due diligence, and even more responses to the post. Out of the last 20 comments that have been placed by followers of the Facebook page, there's only been one comment in response from Taos Tourism, and that to me spells a lack of engagement. Most of you are businessmen. What would your customers think if they walked in and only 1 out of 20 customers actually got a response to a question? So that is something that to me raises a lot of red flags. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Okay, next, is there anyone else who would like to speak under the Citizens Forum, please? Seeing none, I will close the Citizens Forum. And we have another one?
Our own friends.
Oh, okay. He's away in the back there. Welcome to our meeting. State your name for the record, please.
Francisco Espinosa. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the Council of Oscar. I just had an announcement, and that was I wanted to notify the mayor and council and the town manager that I just received the agreement, the map agreement for Salazar Road extension.
Great. That's the one that
upwards of $500,000.
Is that the one that'll fix the drainage?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
At $500,000 it will, yeah.
Congratulations. Congratulations. I know that you've been working hard on it, and this will get Salazar Road opened up all the way through Estes Road by the end of the year if we could get the state getting those agreements in place.
Mr. Mayor, probably not till the spring.
Yeah. And the only reason why is because we're going to be getting into the construction season when it's cold, and we don't want to have the asphalt be in poor shape because of that. So congratulations, French. Excellent work in following through. We've been working on this project for a long time, and now we'll see this project get connected.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Just to be sure, what that $500,000 was supposed to cover was the construction of culverts and the means to go over that creek that's there. And so a lot of that construction, we will be able to do it in cold season. It's just what you're saying, the paperwork itself is going to take until the spring.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what that also does, so in 1 year, we've received about $1 million from state grants for this project. And that does not include the signalized intersection that the state has promised. If we finish this road, that they will put the signalized intersection, correct?
Mr. Mayor, no, it's two different projects. The agreement that I received was for Salazar Road Extension. The CDBG grant application that we're waiting for is for the paving of the extension of Estes Road.
Yes.
So we'll.
And the signal light, that's a third agreement, and they've said yes to that one.
Yes, and the signal light has already been designed by UNM-DOT, and it's waiting funding approval in their own organization.
Sure.
So, yeah.
That's good news. Great news. Thank you. Okay, next, anyone else like to speak under the Citizens Forum at this time? Seeing none, I'll close the Citizens Forum and move to matters from staff. Item 6A, presentation from Taos Municipal Schools. I'd like to welcome Doug Patterson and Superintendent Dr. Weston. Welcome to our meeting, sir. Welcome.
Mayor, council members, and Mr. Rodriguez, thank you for having us tonight. We'd like to show you a, yep, go ahead for that. I'm going to have to dim the light so we can see it. Well, let's see. So tonight we have an informational presentation. The Taos Municipal Schools has been working hand in hand with the town of Taos for about the last 2 years on the design for the Enos East Administration Campus, which is right downtown. It's about a 5-acre campus right downtown, and it basically sits right in front of Town Hall here. Is there a reason that my mouse doesn't work here? Yeah. There it is. I got it. Oh. Nope, doesn't work. Anyways. So it's the highlighted image in the middle of the page. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we basically have the old Taos Elementary building is what we see in the middle there. Everybody knows the location of Parr Field, which is right downtown there. And in addition to the renovation of Parr Field, the Taos Municipal Schools will renovate 3 parking lots, provide a recreational play space with basketball courts, and a downtown playground and park. And I think I'll let Dr. Weston chime in here a little bit, but I think, one of the biggest benefits of this project is that the Taos Municipal Schools have been the recipients of several bond funds, which have allowed them to maintain construction of their schools and improve their facilities. And a lot of times these improvements go, I think, a little bit unnoticed and inaccessible to the general public. The Taos Municipal Schools made a big commitment to downtown Taos by moving their administrative offices downtown, and they'd like to make a bigger commitment to downtown Taos and to the taxpayers of Taos County and really provide a public space in downtown Taos. So unlike the fence site that we see today, all that chain link fence will come down, and this will basically be an open site with open playgrounds. Parr Field will be open to the public for a walking path to walk their dogs. We'll contribute to the parking for the town hall and for farmers market and events that take place downtown. And in addition, I think we're willing to have Manzanara Street accessible and open as the schools see fit during fiestas or during events downtown. They feel like for the safety of their kids that they can't make that a permanent option and become a permanent public street that has access through these campuses. But I think it's, for the most part, they've really reiterated to me that they want to make a contribution to downtown Taos. It's a big project downtown. And we've been working hand in hand with the town of Taos, and we simply wanted to let the mayor and the council and the town manager know what's coming, give us your 2 cents and a little bit of input if need be. But it's our contribution. So, Dr. Weston, I'll let you take it from there.
Essentially, it goes along with the curriculum at the elementary school for an additional area for health and physical education classes. But fortunately, this is one project that the community will be able to use. It'll be open pretty much all the time. Just the old playground equipment that's there and has been there gets really a lot of use. And as Doug said, the chain link fence is going to come down, and it just is a beautification project for all of downtown. It just seems to be a very positive, multi-purpose use. So we're happy to be able to be doing this. It's a thank you to the community for all the bond money that they've voted for over the last couple of years, and just wanted to share the good news with you.
Great. Any comments, questions? Councilmember Gonzalez?
Doug, with regards to Manzanares, what are the proposals for that?
I think the biggest thing that we really need out of Manzanares is we need it to be a one-way street. So the pickup and the drop-off pattern for Enos Garcia, so this is all of Enos Garcia campus, all those cars basically come in Town Hall Drive, and it's a one-way drop-off loop. Early childhood drops off at the early childhood building. The remainder of the campus drops off down here. And that's really student and parent drop-off and pickup. All the bus traffic is on the inside of the campus. So Manzanares needs to be a one-way street going south. And the schools will actually put up a gate at the end of Manzanares Street, at the end of the public right-of-way, and at the top of Town Hall Drive. And the intention during the school season is that it would be opened from 8 a.m. to 9:30 in the morning. All the students would go through their drop-off and pickup sequence, and it would be closed during the school day, and then it would be opened again at the end of the day. We've been working really closely in hand with French. You can actually see that Town Hall Drive gets realigned. So we take the bump out of Town Hall Drive that occurs right in front of the library, and this becomes a more thorough street. And right now we have parking that backs out onto Town Hall Drive, and we're gonna take away that parking, and we're gonna make the parking enclosed to the school site. There will be a fence that goes around the border of that site, but that fence will follow the inside of the parking lot. So that parking lot will actually be open and accessible and usable during farmers market and everything else. And there'll be gates in and out of the site that basically somebody from Town Hall could walk through, could do a lap around Parr Field on a gravel path, could hang out at the picnic tables in the park and go back to work, or a lot of other visitors use that site.
Mr. Mayor, I think with regards to making Manzanares one way, we'd probably want to do some type of feasibility study, traffic study, just because of the fact that it does provide ingress and egress, and I know it gets pretty crazy through there. Mm-hmm. But the other concern I have is that it's a really narrow street in a largely dense residential area. So just some concerns, Mr. Mayor, and also probably want to get the public involved with regards to that, because I know several people do use it. I wholeheartedly admit that there's something that needs to give. I honestly wish the school board would have maybe chosen an alternate site for the revamp of Enos Garcia, just because of how densely populated the downtown district is. But my 2 cents, Mr. Mayor, for what they're worth.
Okay. Councilmember Peralta.
Doug, on Manzanares, you're talking one way just inside the school area, correct? Not when it crosses Don Fernando.
Correct. That's correct.
So across Don Fernando would stay as a two-lane or two-way street. But inside the school property where there are children in that, in effect, that would be just a one-way and gated during different periods of the day, correct?
Mayor and Commissioner Peralta, that's correct.
Okay. Now, what is the intention for the use of Parr Field with this renovation? Just out of curiosity, since it's no longer big enough for a ball field.
At this time, it gets used mostly by people with pets who want to throw the ball and have their dog go chase it. During Solarfest, people camp on that land. It's available. It'll be enhanced with a walking track around it. It's really just for public use. And then there is the the agricultural project with the garden that exists there now.
So basically a public park in a sense.
Yeah.
I think I would add to that. I think the primary use of the administrative campus is really open space for children at Enos Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say that's the number one use when we're considering its use and its access and its safety. So there will still be a fence around Parfield, but it'll be more of a nice kind of ornamental black iron fence. It'll be lower. It'll only be 42 inches. So we still want the ability for, during field day, that the Enos Garcia students would be able to come use that field, and the field would still contain the students for their own safety while they're using the field for that. But when it's not used for the physical education space or the open space for Enos Garcia, the intent is those gates would be open and the public would be able to walk through that site and use that site.
Yes, I apologize. I didn't mean to downplay the physical education aspects of it. We do have 2.5 physical education teachers now at Enos Garcia and only 2 gym spaces. So whenever the weather's acceptable, there'll be one class outside almost all the time.
Okay. But it's not going to be a sports field anymore, like as it was years ago.
No.
But one last question on the parking lot on the north side. The accessibility to that parking lot will be strictly from the east entrance?
Mayor Cordova, Commissioner Peralta. So this is you enter from Town Hall Drive through the parking lot and back out. All of these roads have the ability to be two-way traffic. So if for some reason we wanted to access the driveway from this way and go back out this way, we could, and that's perfectly fine. I think the layout of it encourages people to drive down Town Hall Drive through the parking lot and back out onto Town Hall Drive.
So where will the gate be then that shuts off Manzanares?
Well,
during
the
school year.
There's going to be
during
two
school hours.
Commissioner Peralta, I'm sorry for interrupting.
Go ahead.
There's going to be 2 gates. There'll be a gate at the top of the school site, and there'll be a gate at the bottom of the school site. And I think we're basically going to.
But I'm just saying, if that gate is at the top, it doesn't leave accessibility to the parking lot then.
That's right. Yep. If they chose to close off that gate, then this parking lot would be accessed through this two-way road right here.
So that would be the main access during the school year
For administration
for parking
and
in
staff.
that area
Yes, sir.
during the school year,
Yes,
school
sir.
period, I should say.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor? Okay, Doug, I apologize. I was, where it was blown up on the screen, I thought it ran through all the way to the Salazar intersection,
I see.
but it cuts off, so
It stops at the end of,
we're good. Thank you.
Councilmember Silva.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you guys for being here and presenting. This is great, valuable information, and I believe it'll be a great improvement to that whole piece of property that the school owns. I do have a couple of questions. First of all, the parking lot on the east side, adjacent to Placitas Road, that is only accessible through the parking lot at the Guadalupe parking lot. Is that correct?
Mayor Cordova, Councilman Silva, that is correct. We've gone back and forth with this a number of times, and French and I have talked about it a lot. I think we're open to advice or interpretation. But right now, the access that we have coming through the Guadalupe parking lot is 26 feet wide. It's actually wider than Placitas. So we have a good access coming in through the Guadalupe parking lot, and we have an easement over that parking lot with the church. And we thought it would actually be better to improve that parking lot so we know that that this building and the gymnastics center rely on that parking, and I believe the schools actually have an arrangement to help provide parking with the gymnastics center. So we'd like to leave that parking lot there, and we'd like to improve it. And generally, we understand that people use that parking lot to access town buildings on this side of the street. We thought it would be safer if we actually cut off that access so people can't drive over the sidewalk and drive over the curb from Placitas to use that parking lot. And its access would be maintained through the Guadalupe, or through the town parking lot that's leased from Guadalupe Church.
Did you, just looking at this, we still have some vacant land from that east parking, on the north end of that east parking, and it looks like it's wide enough for a driving lane. Did you ever consider maybe perhaps wrapping the driving lane around the par field and bring it all the way back to the entrance of the parking lot right off of Civic Plaza Drive?
Mayor Cordova, Councilman Silva. We've looked at that area a number of times, and it's been one of the more difficult areas to solve on the site. If we actually make usable parking out of that area, it starts to eat into Parr Field a little bit too much. So right now, what we had decided was to take that fence and run it up to the sidewalk and include that area under the trees, landscape it and improve it, and grow grass there and have it as part of Parr Field. It is possible to extend an access drive going up there along to Town Hall Drive. But I think, again, when we discuss this with Abeta Engineering and with French, it gets confusing when we have too many access points at an intersection. And we really felt like the best decision was to maintain the access down here, cut off this access. But I agree with you, it's a possibility. I would say we'd still be open to it, but we just have to resolve how all that comes out at the intersection of Town Hall Drive and Placitas.
Right, and that's why I was saying if you bring it back to the one entrance that is designed there across the parking lot of Town Hall there.
Bring it all the way back to here.
Right.
So wrap a road all the way around that site.
Just a driving lane.
A
yes.
driving lane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems like it could work.
I think,
and I understand that you might be encroaching on your design on the field, but I just see that as. Well, let me ask you a question before I make the next comment. What kind of fencing or what do you have? Is it just open to the Placita side, that parking area there on the east parking lot?
This will be between that parking lot and the field will be a grade break of about 2.5 feet, 3 feet. So there'll be a retaining wall at the edge of that parking lot, and on top of that retaining wall would be a 42-inch tall black ornamental fence that just keeps people from going over that grade break. And that ornamental fence would continue up. Right now in the design, it continues up to Placitas, goes around Placitas and Town Hall Drive. But I think you have a great point in terms of access and site circulation, and I don't think that we had considered running it all the way around the field, and that would be worth a second look.
I think it would.
Yeah.
Just to kind of make sure I'm clear, you've identified what the black ornamental fence where it's at, but on the Placita side, is there any fencing there, or just curbing, or what do you have?
We would run that ornamental fence down the property line so that people didn't drive over the curb and access that parking lot from Placitas. So right now, our intention that entire red line along Placitas, that is intended to be a black ornamental fence of varying height.
Yeah. I'd just encourage you to maybe look at that driving lane. You might get more use out of that parking lot if you did that. The other thing is, I have a 6-year-old that attends the Enos school, and been taking him and dropping him off there and picking him up since he started kindergarten last year. One of the things that I've noticed in doing that is, as you approach Manzanares, a lot of times you have to park on Civic Plaza Drive momentarily till the traffic flow or the kids are starting to get loaded up or dropped off. So then you can go ahead and enter Manzanares Street. And another, looking at this, I was thinking that perhaps maybe during that drop-off and pickup time, maybe the parents can access that same entrance across the Town Hall property project. If you can move the other entrance. Sorry. Come up to the exit entrance on the parking lot on the north side. That's the Manzanares. There you go. Perhaps maybe you can direct the flow of traffic for the children drop off through that parking lot so that they're not having to stage momentarily on Civic Plaza Drive while the traffic is easing up on Manzanares. Just something to consider.
Mayor Cordova, Councilman Silva, have you noticed this year, this school year, have you seen traffic backing up onto Town Hall Drive?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. And the reason I ask that is that one big improvement that we made is this first early childhood drop-off lane.
Right.
We opened that up to 2 lanes of traffic. And our hope was that we would be able to relieve enough of that traffic that we actually absorb it into the site and get it off Town Hall Drive.
And it helps.
And I was curious to see if we had actually made a dent.
It does help. I've seen where if a student isn't found or he's not coming up to his parents' car quick enough, other cars behind that one car that is waiting for the child can go ahead and bypass and get back onto Mount Sinai Drive and leave. So it does help, but we're still getting back up on Civic Plaza Drive.
And I agree with you. I think that's worth considering. I just wanted to point out one other improvement that we're considering in response to that, and that's that this entire parking lot at the southwest corner is meant for the drop off and the pickup at the early childhood. So right now, I think we have an issue where cars are parking here when they're trying to get out of their car and walk the kids up to early childhood, and this parking lot here and this crosswalk is intended to relieve some of that. But I think it's also worth a second look at routing that drop-off and pickup traffic through the parking lot as a holding pattern.
Yeah, and your design would lend itself well to that in either case. One last thing is that you have it a one-way, but you still have folks there, unless, I guess you need to post some signs or something, one-way signs, because they're still wanting to exit to the north.
What we'd like to do at the ends of Manzanares is, one, get some support from the town in posting one-way signage, and then we'd also like to do a bell curb that cuts off the incoming lane to Manzanares, so there aren't two lanes to Manzanares that allow traffic to come into that site. It would reduce the Manzanares exit onto Don Fernando to one lane from two lanes.
And I don't see the traffic coming back from that location. It's more when the parents park and pick up their kindergarten or first graders at their early childhood, and then they get back in their cars and then head north.
They're exiting this way?
They exit to the north.
I
yes.
see. Thank
so
you.
I think signage might take care of that, but we need to do something there. And I spent enough time already, so I do have one last thing. And I had mentioned this to Quentin Wood when he was still working with the schools. There used to be some bollards there at the end of what used to be Manzanares, and now is the drive-through right there. There used to be some bollards there, and there's these little stubs of metal that were the locks for the bollards. Well, they're still there, and God only knows how much damage they're doing to the tires, the steel belting on the tires, and they need to come off of there. And if you'd like, I'd go cut them off for you. I just didn't want to do it.
My apologies.
I'm willing to do that.
The school board has also asked me to deal with those, and we haven't been able to deal with them over the
If
summer.
you tell
My
me
apologies.
now, I will do it.
Yep, do it.
Okay, thank you. All right. I just didn't want to do it without your permission.
One last thing I'd like to add is that the school board really for the past several months has really encouraged diverting them or focusing their money on hiring local trades for all summer long. And we've really done a good job of breaking all of our projects down into smaller sums and being able to employ local contractors. The budget for this downtown campus is approximately $1.2 million, and the school board has authorized us to break that project down into as many small projects as we can and hire as many different local contractors and local suppliers and local laborers as we can to basically to be able to not get around, but when you do a big project, it has to be a payment and performance bond, and a lot of our local contractors can't do that. And we've had great success all summer long with concrete and asphalt and roofers and framers and stucco, and we have a tremendous labor pool in Taos, and we intended to use it to our fullest ability on this campus in front of Town Hall.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to say I applaud you guys for that.
Yeah.
I think if you continue to do that, that'll send a message to the rest, of us, the county, the town, whenever we can, whenever possible. Let's try to do that. We have a lot of talent in this town, and you're right. It's mainly because of the bonding capabilities and capacities that they can't compete on the larger level, but they sure can compete when you break it up. So I really applaud you and thank you for that.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments? Councilmember Abeta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Silva, you bring up some excellent ideas. I'm going to counter two of them. On stacking the traffic through the parking lot, I just don't think that's a good idea because of the additional safety concerns that come out of that. And then the idea of rerouting the traffic around Parkfield, excellent idea. However, Parkfield is already pretty limited. And if we do that, we're going to eat up more space and we're going to have less green space for the children. So I would say leave it the way it is.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? French, did we address the issue of stop signs? I know that the principal asked me to put some stop signs, or asked if we can get the stop signs there this last week as school started.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, yes, actually I went to go meet with the principal today, but school was adjourned, so I was unable to meet with her.
Okay. Yeah, if we can just make sure we address that issue. I think they wanted 2 stop signs in that in that area, meantime, so. Okay, thank you. Thank you,
Thank
gentlemen. We look forward to seeing this project come to completion.
Thank you.
Great
Thanks,
job.
Doug.
Keep up the great work. Thanks.
Dr. Wilson.
Okay, next we will go to item B, consideration and possible approval of a one-year renewal of contract TT 1428 with Griffin and Associates in the amount of $398,000 inclusive of gross receipts tax for tourist marketing services. Oscar.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. You have here a contract that has taken the staff a lot of time to rework, so much so, in fact, that we passed the expiration date on it. You'll see that this one is dated July 1st. In the meantime, I have asked the Griffin Associates to continue some of the work that they've done on a limited basis anyway, so that we wouldn't lose ground, just so that we could finally get this contract there. Let me point out to you the two biggest changes. The contract doesn't change anywhere except in one very important aspect, and that is that now it talks about three very clear, very knowable, and convenient, if you will, indicators that will allow us to see if performance here is where it should be. And this is a very important aspect for several reasons. I'll just point out the two big ones. One is we depend on gross receipts and lodgers tax, if you will, that activity of tourists coming here and spending money here to the extent of almost 90%, unlike the county, for example, that relies primarily on their real estate taxes revenue to fund their operations. We rely on this transaction of people coming from out of town, spending their money here a lot. And so, therefore, the marketing that we do here means a lot more to us. There's a lot more at stake in our marketing effort than at the county. And so that's one reason. The other reason is that up until now, when I first got here, for example, there was just a lot of talk about how this contract was good, it was bad, it was left, it was sideways, it was going up, it was going down, et cetera. And it just took a lot of work with the stakeholders to finally boil it down to three very critical indicators. And those indicators address a different aspect of marketing, and there you have them. One is lodgers tax. At the end of the day, no matter what you did, how many pamphlets, how many phone calls, how many articles were out there, et cetera, at the end of the day, if that lodgers tax is not going up, is not positive, then all that was, if you will, for naught. And at the very least, it tells us that we should be changing our strategy. And that lodgers tax is a reflection, by the way, is just an indirect reflection of gross receipts tax. Just seeing how this whole activity is structured with tourists. The other aspect is how a town is being treated in those media markets, those big media markets that we rely on to send us the tourists. Albuquerque, Dallas, Denver, places like that. And so that's the other indicator that's here. How are we being covered? Number of stories that are out there about Taos, not paid stories, not advertisements, but how many times we're covered out there. And that is a reflection of the PR effort that we're asking Griffin to do for us. The other aspect here is the other indicator here is it's not a perfect indicator, but it is, I think, a fair one anyway to gauge their success or their effectiveness in getting us recognition and some notoriety on social media, and that is the unique visitors that go to Taos.org. As you know, Taos.org is a very important piece of internet real estate for us. We send all our traffic there. If you Google Taos, that's still the number one for a long time. Is actually the top site that comes up. We think that's very important to maintain. And so, to us, unique visitors to that, not people who go there repeatedly, but just unique visits to that, is a good indication also of our marketing efforts in the social media spheres. And so you have there then I think the three indicators that get the whole picture in there And we could tell by these three, which you'll be getting, by the way, periodically. You'll be getting these monthly and quarterly, actually, just because that's how the information that we get, so that you can tell at any given time, is it working, how is it working, and by the way, we've added there something you can compare, and that is how it looks against Santa Fe and how it looks against the state. As you can see, we have pretty much followed the same trend as Santa Fe, flat to slightly negative. We've done no worse than them. I think that under the circumstances, we could call that a success. I mean, absolutely, a shot out of the park would be where we're going positive while they're going negative, and that I think that's just something that is going to be very hard to disengage. So anyway, we also compared it to the state. You can see the state has gone up and down and up and down, and currently, although the trend seems to be up over the last 5 years, the last two years have been quite negative, and at least we have not been taking that direction. Anyway, with that, I think that the contract is now ready to be approved or recommended. We, of course, have Joan Griffith here to answer any specific questions that you have.
Any questions, comments by the council? What is the pleasure of the council?
Move for approval, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? I just want to say thanks to Joni for all your hard work and all the input that Taos citizens provide. I know that you have a task force, if you will, of individuals that are intimately engaged in what we're doing with our tax dollars, and looking at our trending and our pacing. Clearly, we're getting the results in this economic downturn. It's a tough environment out there. But I can guarantee that if we were not putting the magnitude of money that we are in marketing, we would not see the results. The problem that we're seeing is people are coming, but they're not spending as much as we'd like them to spend. And with that, the economy will fix that. But clearly, we're seeing that in the report that we'll see from Marietta. We're seeing our GRT trending up little by little. So I think we're on the right track here. So, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if
Councilmember
I could, just
Rivas.
real quick, Joni, with regards to the issue that our constituent brought up to us with the trafficking of Facebook, I don't do Facebook, so I couldn't tell you one way or the other. But again, if there are questions that aren't being answered, so just a little bit more monitoring of that. Do you guys do Twitter?
We do.
Okay. So same thing, I guess, with that.
And just so you know, I gave my card so we could talk. All those reports are...
I'm going to come in so we can hear you on TV.
You'll be getting a condensed version of the marketing reports every month, but the full reports live on taosgov.com, and we do track everything that the gentleman was requesting already exists in our social media reports. And I gave him my card so we can talk.
Okay. Yeah. Thank
And just want to give you a couple of successes. We're up 3.9% our lodger's tax over last year, which is really fabulous. We're starting to move in the right direction. I want to see us cross the $1 million mark, which is what I'm committed to. So I won't stop till we get there. We had over 6 billion media impressions in PR stories and 87 A-list media stories. So we've really been getting a lot of national attention. And our web site, our unique visitors to the website over last year is up 67%. So I really do feel positive that we're moving in the right direction and we've turned the corner. I really do believe fiscal year 14 will be way in the right direction.
Good.
So thank you for your continued support. We really appreciate it. And the other thing I just want everybody to know is Griffin and Associates is not Joni Griffin. I think a lot of times the media points it like it's me. There's a staff of 10 people at my office every day working on this account. So I'm the one you see, but it's the entire Griffin team.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. We will thank you all for attending the meeting. Next, we'll go to item C, grant application for rural transportation services. Consideration and possible approval of an application for financial assistance under the USC Section 5311 of the Federal Transit Act for rural transportation services, estimated at $706,258 for federal fiscal year 2014-2015.
Mr. Mayor, yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, this is our annual grant application for the funding we get for our transit system. Nothing unusual, nothing different this year than what you've seen in the past.
Okay. What is the pleasure of the council?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next, we will go to item D, presentation of the monthly financial report of period ending July 31st, 2013.
And I would just say, if it seems too brief, because I told her she's got 30 seconds to tell us, hurry up.
And I can talk fast. Good evening, Mayor, council members. As you can see, first month of the fiscal year, gross receipts tax is up 1.35%, and I just sent out August. I was a couple of months behind, but August looked great, $133,000 more, 14% up. And, you know, bring a concert every month. And
those are June numbers, right?
Yeah. Those are June numbers, yes.
Mumford and Sons.
Mumford and Sons. So you can see in those classifications. Really, the beginning of this fiscal year, we just changed quite a bit of things of reoccurring costs and new revenues coming in. First ever revenue, $25,000 from other enterprise funds for administrative fees. So we're doing that on a monthly basis. Pretty much capital projects, just reopening purchase orders of projects that started last year and continuing this year. A couple, dump truck, the brush truck, some design on Civic Plaza that's nearly 90% complete through July. So really not a lot of expenditures on capital. Debt service just pretty much spells out everything that we have there. Outstanding principal and balance is $14,233,000 for the whole, all of the debt service that we have for the town. So really, next month will be a little bit more. We don't have any really end-of-year projections yet. We do have going into our fourth increase of gross receipts tax of 4 months in a row with August receipts. So, you know, steadily going, it looks good. You know, maybe after a couple more months of that, we may come back and visit. But other than that, special revenue funds, pretty much all the same thing. So I stand for any questions. You guys all have your report, hopefully in front of you, if you have any questions.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Peralta?
Thank you, Mayor. Marietta, just one question. This isn't in your report, okay? And that is lodger's tax. Where is that coming in right now?
We have a meeting tomorrow. I haven't looked at the report yet, but at the end of the fiscal year, we were up close to the $900 and some thousand mark. And we will have that report tomorrow, so I can send that to you, because I don't have the positive figure. We got those receipts, August 25th for July. So.
But in July, you got June's. And is that did you put that into the fiscal year for 2013, or is that going to be in the fiscal year of 2014?
That will be in 2014.
So what were those numbers?
I don't have those in front of me. I did bring my lodger's tax stuff.
Were they
but
up?
they were up. They were up.
Okay.
And I was going to say,
So-
Joni can probably tell you because she has the report with her.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, the other thing is, maybe our librarian can give us this information. So far in the month of August, how have the library card revenues come in?
They slowed down from July, but they're still coming in.
Okay.
Last month it was about $5,000, or about, I want to say half of that, but that's to be expected.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Thank you, Marietta.
Thank you, Marietta.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay, next we will go to item E, consideration and possible approval of resolution 1340, approving the disposition of electronics vehicles, miscellaneous equipment, and materials owned by the town of Taos pursuant to NMSA section 354-2A.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Last month you asked that we look into putting out a lot of surplus property. We've done that. We've asked each of the departments to scrub down the departments. That's what you have here. Just so you'll know, some of this, everything but the rolling stock, the cars that actually can still get on the highway, will be put out for the electronic sale. The rolling stock we're going to put up for an auction, just a old-fashioned public auction here, so that the local folks can have access or have a chance to bid on those.
Councilmember Peralta.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I remember reading this correctly, it says that anything that isn't sold will go to the landfill. I would like to put into the resolution that all electronics that are recyclable go through the recycling center rather than going to the landfill.
Yes, sir. We have that service currently. All electronic stuff go to, proper recycling, and then the rest, what can't be recycled gets thrown in the landfill otherwise. Yes, sir.
It's on number 2. On number 2 of the resolution.
Mr. Mayor, Oscar, and by the way of old-fashioned auction, is this going to be on the surplus site, or are we going to do just a old-fashioned auction?
Yes, old-fashioned. I got a request of this from a number of citizens that I ran into out in the community that said, like, before you just put them out there, people like, to maybe have a chance of doing bids on those. And so for those, we're going to go ahead and do that. And rolling stock meaning cars and bicycles.
Okay.
Old-fashioned in the sense that, yes, someone will get up there and take bids. Yeah, yes, sir. Well,
Okay.
Any other comments, questions?
Don't have none, sir.
Despite allegations that we do not work with the county, I did receive an expression of appreciation from Commissioner Baroni for the vehicles that we just gave them recently, and we continue to work with them on sharing some of the resources that we don't utilize anymore, and we did give those to them at the last meeting. So he expressed his appreciation to the councils. Okay, what is the pleasure of the council?
Move for approval, Mr. Mayor.
Motion and a second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next, we'll go to item 7A, consideration and possible approval of Town of Taos Ordinance 1312, an ordinance related to the panhandling on public property, amending the definition of panhandling to include non-vocal solicitations and amending the regulations for panhandling on public property. Oscar.
yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, this is the accompanying ordinance to the action the council took at the last meeting to rescind or to pull back the busking orders, the busker ordinance. And as we mentioned to you, without something like this in place, there would just be no chance for us to regulate that activity. And so what we then did was put this ordinance up. It is an ordinance, basically it was worked up through Santa Fe. Our attorney did a lot of research on this and thinks advises this is the one that has the best chance, if you will, of surviving challenge. What is on there is pretty much just the more aggressive side of panhandling. The passive side still goes forward.
The ordinance handles both aggressive and passive. The part that handles passive is B, where it talks about panhandling on a street, and then E, which is panhandling with a sign. Unfortunately, since we submitted this for the agenda, I have become aware that the jurisdiction in the Midwest, actually in the state of Michigan, determined that passive panhandling was First Amendment protected. That has not been the case in the Southwest. For some reason, there's a lot of these out of Arizona. At any rate, the most problematic in terms of a defense would be to continue in this ordinance to include the passive panhandling. Certainly it could be passed with instruction to the attorney's office to get rid of the passive panhandling section and just stick with the aggressive panhandling if that was the council's preference.
So the signs of people saying we'll play tambourine for food, those are free speech.
Well, not everywhere. Sounds silly. There's a diversity in jurisdictions. Most of the South and the West do not provide that sort of passive is sitting there with the sign panhandling, more, not all, but more in the East and Midwest would extend to that passive panhandling First Amendment protection.
Okay. Any comments, questions? So are we addressing the issue that the plaza merchants had with the photos that they showed us? Does this ordinance give us the teeth we need for law enforcement to enforce no panhandling in the plaza? And if not, what are our options?
Well, this is the most vigorous one that I found. I mean, there are more vigorous options, but they're way less likely to pass constitutional muster, and I won't be recommending those because if we're wrong, it's very expensive. As far as I can determine, this is as far as the New Mexico courts have allowed folks to go. This one is relatively new. It has not been tested all the way up. And like I say, there is a difference in opinion in jurisdictions as to passive panhandling. There has been almost a uniform acceptance of the aggressive panhandling because it can all be related to a legitimate government purpose for each of the provisions. So the only one that I have any doubt about is the passive panhandling, and like I say, in the South and the West, that has not yet been afforded First Amendment protection. But full disclosure requires me to tell you that if this ordinance is going to be attacked successfully, it would most likely be on the issue of passive panhandling.
Mr. Mayor, the concern that has been repeatedly communicated to me by many people, many of the merchants at the plaza, is it wasn't so much the busking itself, but that busking sort of provided the platform for just generally aggressive behavior, unpleasant and aggressive behavior. I myself witnessed some of that, and so that is something we can address and can be addressed. The problem with that, if you will, is that it just does take manpower. It does take sending a cop by there periodically a lot, so that as they're hanging out, and they get aggressive with the tourists or people that walk by, that they're able to do something about that. One thing is important here, though, is to keep in mind is that we're dealing with human beings who, if they see us, curbing them at one area, will then move to another area, and so it's just going to take just a lot of presence out there, and I on that it's just a matter of just having the staff to be able to do that, and not so much an ordinance or the legal ability to intervene, but just having a presence there to curb that behavior.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Oscar, I think being that, we're exerting as much money as we are into bringing tourism here, specifically on myself when I travel, I don't think I've ever been made to feel uncomfortable, especially in larger cities, by individuals panhandling. But if you walk through that alley, that's one area that they can make people feel uncomfortable. And I don't want it to be a deterrence for tourists to say, well, it was nice, but be careful because. So I would fully support whatever resources necessary, because I do want people that visit here to have the utmost pleasant experience that we can provide to them.
Okay, any other questions, comments? So just what kind of panhandling would be unenforceable? Give us an example. What do you think?
Unenforceable?
Yeah, that we wouldn't be able to enforce.
Well, I don't know. I guess.
How passive would you have to get?
Well, you'd have to be pretty passive. Maybe you want to just sit there with your legs folded and your traveling dog and a sign. As long as the sign was within 4 square feet and you weren't next to a road or on the plaza, I guess you could do that. It doesn't really allow for one whole lot of panhandling, actually.
Okay.
We need to have a public hearing too, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. At this time, I will open it up for public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to comment under the public hearing section? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and go to what's the pleasure of the council.
Move for approval, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Is that approval and second as directed by the attorney? As presented?
Yes.
Okay. That is to take off, for the record, do you want to let the clerk know what? That's to take off the provision that you had on there?
No, I would think that the ordinance as presented precludes both
Okay.
aggressive and passive, called here non-vocal solicitation. So we would interpret that as meaning it's going to be adopted as it's presented, which has both kinds of prohibitions.
Okay. Okay. There's a motion and a second. It is a public hearing. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Vita?
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilmember Peralta?
Yes.
Councilmember Silva?
Yes.
Okay. By the vote of 4 in the affirmative, none in the negative, the ordinance is passed. Next, we will go to item 8, matters from the mayor and council. Youth council member, any matters for discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I do want to
Councilmember Gonzalez.
bring up one thing. This last weekend, I was in Albuquerque with Naleo with regards to the 50-plus aging population across the country, and primarily, saw a lot of issues that pertain to our own community. And one that was brought up was our narrow streets and, doing everything that we can do to foster more pedestrian-friendly activities. And I think, with regards to us getting, grant money and completing extensions, and I know we've mentioned several times that the state highway department is inclined to help us fix the Cantu Hill and going south. If we can incorporate some of that into it, it would be extremely, extremely good to create more mobility in the downtown area. And I think one thing that we have all witnessed is election candidates in running, we do run across a fair number of older folks. So that's one thing that I would like to harbor and just maybe make it a little more ease-friendly for them to get around. Okay. The second thing, Mr. Mayor, was that the Affordable Care Act will be implemented here October 1st. And I, for one, was one individual that didn't have a lot of insight as to what was going on. So for the listening audience at home and for everybody here, with regards to that, I think it's maybe a good time that we start to engage our constituents with regards to how it's going to work. So if we could, I would like to have, be it a town hall meeting or just a one-on-one, weekly session, maybe between the manager and myself and whoever wants to attend, just to bring to light where the enrollment process can take place and how it can take place.
Okay. Councilmember Silva.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to bring up, a couple of years ago, we approved a high-performance building ordinance, and it has come to my attention, and I've been contacted quite a few times over the last few weeks about the contractors are having a difficult time getting the HERS rating evaluation because there's no longer anybody here in our area that does that. And I'd just like this council to consider either putting that requirement on the shelf or maybe even rescinding it. But I'd just like to bring that up.
Okay. Councilmember Abeta.
Mr. Mayor, I concur with Councilmember Silva. We could make the standard optional for those folks that want to meet it. But right now in a high-cost area, it's making it very difficult for a builder to provide a home at an affordable price when we have some very stringent requirements in place.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? If we can address that and see how soon we could put such an item on the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I do have one more item.
Councilman.
And maybe this is just an inquiry. I know I've asked before, but I've never, I guess I just don't know, or it hasn't been made clear enough for me. Do we have an agreement in place with New Mexico DOT for repairs and service along the state highway if we were to do them so we can get reimbursed those funds? And if we do, to what degree is that, and have we been utilizing that?
Okay, Oscar.
No, sir, we don't. In fact, we often, for example, ask about the sidewalk over on Paseo, right in front of the Taos Inn. It's very narrow, it's crumbling, etc. And their response is they're going to fix that. In fact, what's coming this spring will be a sidewalk and a whole shoulder improvement program through that whole area. So, no, we basically it's on a case-by-case basis. There's not so much an agreement where we can go in and improve things that we see aren't working. We see something that's not working, we ask them to repair it. If they can, they will. If not, they'll give us permission to do it.
And Mr. Mayor, and it's been my understanding that, well, actually, I sat in on a meeting with some folks from New Mexico DOT last year sometime, and I did ask the question. They said that, like Espanol and Santa Fe do have current agreements, so I would think that maybe we ought to get on board with that.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just give one more, Oscar. If we can look at also, I mean, there was some ideas thrown around in other communities that have been done, much that resemble ours with regards to, you know, real narrow streets and no more build-out capacity or any capacity to widen. And I know the state highway owns a lot of that, but, you know, some of it is, you know, shortening up the right-of-way a little bit and maybe opening it up to bike lane, just so it's not so wide. Also narrowing the median in areas where there isn't any high traffic, so we can just sit down and maybe look at that within the next month or so.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay. I would like to also see if the council would want to entertain such an ordinance that is similar to Santa Fe's. I believe Santa Fe has one, and maybe we could research that. That in the summer and winter requires property owners to clean up to the roadway, therefore ensuring that weeds and such debris is clean. So it's an ordinance that I believe helps Santa Fe keep clean with limited resources, and also assists with the snow removal on sidewalks. Business owners would be required to clean that, because if you see when we get big snowstorm here, the sidewalks, because of the trucks, they're just piling the snow on the sidewalk, and it's almost impossible for pedestrians to walk on there. So if we could look at an ordinance, does the council want to look at something like that? Yeah. We could just maybe see what Santa Fe has, see what implications it has, and what has worked, what hasn't. I think it'll help beautify our community. Okay. All right, anything else? Not, entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, everyone, and
good night.
Please welcome all of our counterparts from different municipalities. It's New Mexico League Month, week here in Taos. We're hosting them, and please do everything you can to welcome all these dignitaries, mayors throughout the state. Thank you.